What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and we have more WizKids unboxings. This time, the Kobold Warband. Now, this is 3, 6, 8 Kobold minis. A lot of them unique with different poses that we haven't seen before, and I'm a huge fan of Cobalt, so this is a big one for me. So once again, thank you to WizKids and team for sending this over to me for review purposes. This will run you $44.99 for these 8. That does seem a little pricey to me, though there is some unique sculpts that I haven't seen before with some nice translucent sort of action effects, as well as 2 of them being, or at least one of them being a Erd, so a winged kobold, the other possibly has a, the sort of stitched wings made out of material. This is also set to release in July. We are in July, so I assume that'll be sometime soon. So yeah, I don't really have much more to say. Let's open it up and take a look. All right, up first here is Cobalt Commoner 2. Again, not the worst. The face does have some definition. You can see a little bit there along the spine. Again, not my overall favorite of these. Then we have Cobalt Commoner 1. This one's got a little pickaxe going on here, doing some mining. Again, a little bit of what looks just kind of smudged on paint there to try to add some definition. Pretty weird looking seam where the arm joins the body, almost looks like a separate color there. All right, next up we have Cobalt Underling here. Now this guy's got a little bit of a, he's got a, well, I guess you could call that a dagger or a knife, but I don't know. That just looks like a blob of silver paint into a blob of red paint. And he's at least got his face, his teeth look a little defined. I like the kind of scruff or whatever that is on the back of his neck. And then his very heavily blobbed on painted hand crossbow. We have our winged kobold here. This is the one with the actual wings, with a big old seam line right down the face there and a globby rock in the hand. Although the wings do have some very nice definition in them there. His face looks a little derpy. Yeah. All right, and his dagger at least looks a little more defined than the blob of silver paint on the other one. This is a Cobalt Dragon Shield here. This guy's got a little more uniqueness to him. Again, his nose is a little funky, but he's got the cool, like, alligator or snapping turtle shell shield there. Some hood there, and then his, a little bit of, like, extra flashing left on the bottom of the spear, actually, which is kind of a little upsetting there. All right. Then we get into the 3 that I think that are definitely the best. So this one is just called Kobold. And I like this one because of the sling, where you've got the sling effect where it's kind of swirling the sling around like that. I think that looks good. I think the dagger almost looks a little more like an actual dagger. But again, the mold line running right down that arm across the head there. His snout is kind of smushed flat. His leg there, you can see, kind of looks like a little weird action going on there where leg meets the base. It just looks like he has a giant foot compared to, look at his back foot compared to his skinny little front foot. I don't know. Then we've got Cobalt Inventor here, which has, again, the really cool swirling effect of bringing up this sort of whatever that staff is there that has the scorpion stinger on the bottom. That's supposed to be a skunk on the back there, which is just like, I don't know, kind of smudgy. The arm looks a little weird. There's that weird joint where the neck meets the head. The basket has a pretty solid, there's a hair in there, but that's probably from me. But the basket looks really, really good, high quality there. His face, I can't tell if that's supposed to be an eye or a tooth sticking out in the front. It just looks weird. And then lastly, we have the Kobold Scaled Sorcerer, which I think this one is definitely the best because it's got the cool translucent two-handed fireball that it's shooting. Its face does look a little funky. I will cut them a little slack as these are relatively tiny minis overall in comparison. There's usually no excuse for bad paint jobs on larger minis because you have a lot more surface area. So again, I'm no expert painter myself, but I've seen what really high-quality painters can do. Again, if you look at the back, the sort of stitched scales here, or stitched wings, rather, they are significantly larger in size, and they do look really solid, in my opinion. I think the fireball looks great, but the whole mouth situation looks a little funky there to me. His whole face in general. Yeah. All right, so let's put them all on here so you can get a look at them all next to one another. But for what I see in the paint job of these particular guys, I'm going to say, in my personal opinion, it's not worth your $44 to go pick this up unless you desperately need some Kobold minis for your game. Which, you know, hey, one of the very least things is you will get 8 Kobold minis, which is something, right? You'll have 8 minis that are all Cobalt, so if you're running an encounter, you'll have that option for you there. So anyway, folks, let me know what you think about the Kobold Warband set of minis from WizKids. Thank you once again to my patrons over on Patreon for continuing to support me and the channel. I will see you all next time.